When the doctors told me I had 6 months to live, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised. After years of ignoring chest pain, coughing blood, and convincing myself that tomorrow was a better day to see a doctor, I had finally run out of tomorrows. The diagnosis wasn't what scared me. It was the silence that came afterward. Friends stopped calling. Co-workers sent polite messages that slowly faded into nothing. Even family began speaking to me like I was already gone. You learn something strange when people believe you're dying. They stop lying. And that's exactly how I stumbled into a murder. My name was Daniel Mercer. I was 46 years old. I lived alone in a quiet neighborhood where nothing exciting ever happened. At least that's what everyone believed. Every morning, I took the same walk through Riverside Park. The exercise didn't make me healthier. It simply made me feel alive for another hour. One cold Tuesday, I noticed a woman sitting on the same bench I'd passed for years. She couldn't have been older than 35. She looked exhausted. Not sleepy. Terrified. She kept checking over her shoulder. When I walked past, she asked the time. I told her. She thanked me, then whispered something so quietly, I almost missed it. If anything happens to me, don't trust the police. I stopped walking. What? She looked towards the parking lot. A black SUV sat with its engine running. The windows were too dark to see inside. When I looked back at the woman, she stood and hurried away without another word. The SUV followed her. I remember thinking it was none of my business. Then I laughed to myself. I was dying. Maybe it was finally time to make something someone else's business. The next morning, the bench was covered in yellow police tape. The woman had been found dead less than 100 yards away. The news called it a mugging. Nothing more. I knew that wasn't true. She hadn't looked robbed. She'd looked hunted. Detective Sarah Collins interviewed everyone who used the park. When she reached me, I told her exactly what the woman had said. She frowned. Are you certain? I don't have much reason to make things up. She noticed the hospital bracelet under my jacket sleeve. Her expression softened. I'll look into it, but I could tell she didn't believe me. 3 days later, someone broke into my house. Nothing valuable was missing. Not my television, not my wallet, not even the cash sitting in my kitchen drawer. Instead, every photograph I owned had been turned face down. Every single one. Family photos, vacation pictures, old framed memories, all flipped over. It felt like a message. Someone had been there. Someone wanted me to know it. The police dusted for fingerprints. Nothing. No forced entry, no useful evidence. The detective suggested maybe I'd forgotten how I left the house. I almost laughed. Cancer was eating my lungs, not my memory. The following week, I returned to the park. I shouldn't have, but curiosity has a strange way of overpowering fear when your future is already measured in months. Near the bench, I found a small silver key buried beneath wet leaves. No markings, no tag, just a number engraved into the metal. I slipped it into my pocket. That evening, I searched online for local storage facilities. The third one I called had Unit 118. The manager confirmed someone rented it. He wouldn't tell me who. I waited until closing time. It wasn't smart. It also wasn't illegal to stand outside. Around 9 o'clock, the black SUV rolled into the parking lot, the same one I'd seen at the park. A tall man unlocked Unit 118. He disappeared inside for less than 2 minutes. Then he left. Once the lot emptied, I walked over. The padlock wasn't fully latched. Someone had been in a hurry. Inside sat a single metal filing cabinet. The silver key fit perfectly. The drawer slid open. It wasn't money. It wasn't drugs. It was paperwork. Hundreds of files, property deeds, financial records, photographs, and a notebook. Every page documented bribes involving city officials, contractors, MIGs and chanchadas, and millions of dollars in fake construction projects. Then I found her picture. The woman from the park. Her name was Emily Rhodes. Beside her name were 2 words, internal auditor. She hadn't been running from a mugger. She'd uncovered corruption. I photographed every document with my phone. Then I left. The next morning, someone called me from a blocked number. You should have stayed sick. The line disconnected. I reported everything to Detective Collins. This time she listened, really listened. Within hours, detectives obtained a warrant for the storage unit. It was empty, completely cleaned out. Someone had gotten there first. She looked at me carefully. "Did you copy anything?" I handed her my phone. For the first time, I saw genuine concern on her face. "You need protection," I smiled. "I don't have enough time left for witness protection." She didn't smile back. Over the next month, arrests quietly began. A city engineer disappeared. A councilman's accountant resigned overnight. Bank records surfaced. Search warrants multiplied. Someone had started talking. The local news hinted at a major corruption investigation. No names, no details, just rumors. I almost believed we'd won. Then my doctor gave me worse news. The treatments weren't working. Weeks, maybe less. I accepted it. What I didn't accept was the feeling someone was still watching my house every night. One evening, Detective Collins stopped by. She admitted something she'd been hiding. Emily Rhodes had tried reporting the corruption months earlier. Every complaint vanished. Evidence disappeared. Someone inside law enforcement had been protecting the people involved. That's why Emily had whispered what she did. "Don't trust the police." "There was a leak," Collins said, "but we're close." Close. Funny word. Sometimes close isn't close enough. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m, my security camera alerted me. A figure stood on my porch. By the time I reached the front window, he was gone. Only a small package remained. Inside was a single photograph. It showed me entering the storage facility. Across the front, someone had written, "You should have minded your own funeral." I finally understood. They weren't trying to scare me anymore. They were preparing to kill me. The next morning, Detective Collins arranged for officers to watch my house. I felt ridiculous. A dying man under police protection, but someone was desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. 2 nights later, the mistake happened. Just after midnight, the power went out. The neighborhood went dark. The backup batteries on my security cameras activated immediately. I heard glass break downstairs. Then footsteps. Slow, careful, professional. I locked myself inside the bedroom and called Detective Collins. She answered on the first ring. "They're here. Stay where you are." The footsteps stopped outside my door. Silence. Then one loud knock. Another. The doorknob slowly turned. I backed away. The door burst open. A masked man entered carrying a suppressed pistol. Before he could raise it, police lights flooded through the windows. He ran. Officers chased him into the backyard. 3 blocks later, they caught him trying to climb a fence. His mask came off. Detective Collins stared in disbelief. "So it was you." The man wasn't a hired killer. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't even connected to City Hall. He was Lieutenant Brian Keller, a respected police supervisor, the same officer assigned to oversee evidence in Emily Rhodes's case, the same officer who had quietly buried every complaint, the same man who leaked investigations before warrants could be served. He'd murdered Emily to protect the corruption. When I found the storage unit, I became his next problem. He'd broken into my house looking for evidence. He'd emptied the storage locker after I reported it. He'd monitored every move I made. And when none of that worked, he decided to finish the job himself. The corruption investigation eventually led to more than 20 arrests. Millions of stolen dollars were recovered. Emily Rhodes's name was finally cleared. She wasn't a victim of random violence. She died trying to do the right thing. People often ask Detective Collins what solved the case. She always gives the same answer: a man with nothing left to lose. I never lived long enough to see the trials. The cancer won exactly when the doctors predicted. But before I died, Detective Collins visited one last time. She placed a newspaper on my bedside table. The headline read, "Corruption Network Collapses After Murder Investigation." Below it was a smaller photograph, Emily Rhodes, smiling. For the first time since meeting her on that park bench, she looked peaceful. I realized then that dying hadn't become the most important thing that happened to me. Living had, even if it was only for a little while longer. And sometimes, a few extra months are all it takes to expose a killer who thought he'd buried the truth forever.